Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the Harley Quinn VW Beetle 124 scale Polar Lights kit number P944. Now this was released back in 16 and previously released as Herbie the Love Bug and the Spider-Man Volkswagen in 2013. But this decal set is specifically for the Batman version featuring Harley Quinn. Now this is an easy builder. It's a skill level 1 snap kit with about 100 pieces with its optional parts. And it's one of those kits where most of your work will go into the exterior. To look at all like the movie version, you'll need to paint this model even though it's molded in 2 colors. Now and so with this, the former sidekick to the Joker supervillain is back on the stage, but this time to help Batman stop the evildoers. Now the whimsical and outrageous Harley Quinn has her own sweet ride too, as this checkerboard Beetle is added to the series. These pieces are molded in red, black, chrome, clear, with metal axles, some small screws, black vinyl tires, and sticker type decals. The instructions are a little vague, but when you're done, she'll be about 6 3/4 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 2.5 inches high. Here are the contents of the kit. As you can see, there's quite a few pieces for a snap kit, but it includes some extra and optional parts. So we're going to use basically some Model Master liquid cement if needed to keep the joints together. And you can find that there will be occasion where even a little super glue might help. You can see there's 2 full sets of different tire sizes. And the decals, which here are actual stickers, they're very colorful. The register is good, of course, and they are easily applied and make for a really nice looking model when you're done. Just please remember to follow the manufacturer safety and use instructions for any of the products you see used here in the review. The first construction that's made to begin building is to snap the windows into the body shell, but first we're going to work on the body shell, and it needs to be primered and then taped off in a checkerboard pattern of quarters, then spray painted gloss red, and once that's dry you then tape the red off that you want to retain and spray the rest with gloss black. Then we just apply the stickers according to the box art, etc. And once those are in place, a coat of clear gloss to keep everything in position, and then the windshield can be added. So we'll show you how to approach that and how to get that done. And you can see here that there's mold lines and ejector pin marks that need to be carefully sanded out before the body can be painted. The ejector pin marks kind of faded away after the primer was applied. Of course, the trunk lid is part of the exterior appearance, so we're going to tape that onto the body when we paint to produce a checkerboard appearance. And you can paint the hinge plate and the trunk lid there interior gloss black, and once the paint's dry, the hinge can be attached to the trunk lid. And then, even though this is a snap kit, I used a little bit of glue to secure that part into position. Now the 2 trunk lid decals can be applied afterwards, just like on the body, and then the whole thing will get treated with some clear coat here, as we mentioned. Now the trunk lid assembly can be installed then after with the hinge plate and the 2 short screws that you saw here. And now the body should be taped off before spraying the gloss red. And once the red is dry, again tape that off and spray it with the gloss black, giving the body a quartered checkerboard appearance. Next we'll add the rear view mirror to the windshield, and this is a snap fit also, but used just a little bit of glue to make sure that this stays in place. And go ahead and install that at this time. These parts out of the kit for your dashboard, and there's an option here. You can use standard or the racing steering wheel, and I use the standard steering wheel configuration for this build. So then the steering wheel gets detailed with a little bit of silver for the metal and chrome pieces, and it gets attached to the steering column. Then the steering wheel assembly is attached to the dashboard, and the grab handle also attached to the dashboard as well on the right side. Now snap the dashboard onto the bosses on the cowling there. You can see it installed here in this photo. You'll see a little bit of flash on the inner trunk liner there, and you can just use a hobby knife to remove that. It's painted gloss black as well, and once that's dry, snapped into position into the body. Engine assembly is pretty simple. Grab the pieces you see here, and then add the right cylinder pair and left to their shrouds, and then the engine halves are assembled together, and the rear engine cover is attached to that. And the same thing for the right and left cylinder assembly halves to the left engine half. Now you can paint the whole thing semi-gloss black, and the fan belt gets painted semi-gloss black. Those are the pulleys, and the belts of course are flat black. Now the fan belt is placed in position but not locked into place until after the engine assembly is installed into the chassis. Now we can look at the rear suspension and exhaust, and it has optional pieces here for a dune buggy type engine, but we're going to use the stock exhaust and engine assembly here. So first we're going to install the engine assembly into the chassis, and oh, by the way, wherever there's chrome or paint, please scrape that off so you get a good joint from your glue assembly. Now there's, like I said, the two options. So we're using the stock exhaust system, and it's kind of loosely put into place there, and it's locating pins and receivers, and the rear suspension then gets installed into the chassis. So here are the copyright insignia, and unfortunately they're on the inside, so they won't be seen, so you don't have to remove those on this model. Continuing with the motor, the carburetor and the cooling fan are painted semi-gloss black, and both hoses then painted flat black. Now the carburetor is attached to the engine cooling fan, and the assembly there to the engine, and the hoses are attached to the chassis and the engine cooling fan. Find the pieces for the interior here. The pedal, cluster, the shifter, and the handbrakes then get installed into the interior's floor, and the floor assembly is painted semi-gloss black, and the pedals are detailed with some flat black for the rubber portions. Now find the seats that are in the kit there, as you see, and the front seats have an option. You can have kind of a racing seat or a stock front seat, and of course we're going to use the stock fronts and backs and assemble those together and then paint them semi-gloss black. Then the right front seat gets attached to the floor of the interior, and then the back is attached to the left seat, and then that seat gets attached to the left side, of course, and they're painted semi-gloss black too. Now we can add the seat backs to the back seat and then assemble that into the interior. And now you can see some progress on the interior with the seats in position, setting on the chassis assembly. She's just about finished. We'll use these pieces to work at the back end, and there's options for the rear bumper, and in this case we're going to use the stock bumper. And the left tail light bezel gets painted gloss black, and then the tail light itself, the lens, is painted with some stoplight red. And then the left tail light can be attached to the tail light bezel and that assembly onto the body on the left side. And we're going to do something similar on the right, only this one the bezel will be painted red to match the body. And then we can go ahead and assemble it as the other side and put that into place at the back end. Finally, the rear stock bumper is installed onto the body. You can see you get your choice of mirrors here. One's a sport mirror, and then there's a round door mirrors, and we're going to use the round ones as in the stock build. And then go ahead and the mirrors and the door handles can be glued onto the body assembly or snapped into place. And then the left and right running boards are painted gloss black before they're attached to the body. Gather up these pieces for the front end assembly, and there's options there too for the front bumper, and we're going to use the stock bumper. and the front license plate gets painted gloss black and attached to the stock front bumper, which is then put into place in the body assembly. And the left and right turn signals get attached to the body, and both chrome vents are attached as well. Now the left headlight lens is installed into the bezel and then onto the body, as well as the right headlight lens into the bezel and onto the body there. So you get quite a choice here for tires and wheels. You get stock wheels, which we're going to use, and tires, as well as some bigs and littles for some racing duty. But once again, we'll use the stock tires for our build. And we're going to take the stock rims and paint those gloss black, and then the rims are installed into the tires, and then the hubcaps are attached to the rims on the outside. Pull out the front suspension pieces and the drums, and we're going to paint them all with gloss black. Now the brake drums are installed onto the spindles on the right and the left respectively, and then they are added to the front axle. Now the tie rod can be installed onto the posts on the spindles, and the front axle assembly can be added to the chassis. Now we'll return to the interior, and the side panels get sprayed with the same gloss black, and they're added to the chassis assembly. Now, using some care, you can tap the short steel axle into one of the tire assemblies, and then it is slid into the rear suspension axle, transaxle back there, and then another tire can be pressed on the other end. Press those together. A third tire assembly can be installed onto the long steel axle, and then that's slid in through the brake drums and out the other side in the front. Now the fourth one can be added to that long steel axle that was installed in the front end. Now things are really coming together, and we're going to place the body assembly on the chassis and wiggle that into position, and then a long screw can be used to install securing the two pieces together there. Then the spare tire can be placed in the trunk of the body assembly, and you can see that she's buttoning up our construction. Curiously, there's a spare part that looks like a soft top for like an open roof variation. It isn't in the instructions here. However, the parts tree does have a Herbie nameplate on it, so I think we know where that was previously used. Oh, there you have it. This simple to-assemble kit of the ubiquitous yet fully functional Volkswagen Beetle has a new flavor with the Harley Quinn's checkerboards on it, and it was a pretty easy build to put together. There were some ejector pin marks and flash, but nothing out of the unusual, and as a stock build she's looking really nice in its new color and motifs. Now here's the side and rear view of the model, and once again it goes together pretty well. There's no real surprises here, and if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. Speaking of which, she joins the rest of some of the Batman vehicles here. The only thing that would have been nicer is if they had added or included a little figurine of Harley Quinn for her ride, but nonetheless they look stunning all together, and I think that you'll enjoy yours too. Well, we hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can do that easily by clicking on the icon in the lower right hand of any video. You could also find us on Facebook and at our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.